Welcome back to Erik Penser Bank. For our next presentation, we are joined by Magnus Larsson, who's the President and CEO of Pricer. Welcome, Magnus.
Thank you very much.
And with that said, I hand the word over to you.
Hello, everyone. I am Swedish, but I will actually speak in English today, so I hope you don't mind. I am CEO and President of Pricer, and I'm here to speak about the future of retail and what we do. And I would like to start with our vision. It's a brand new vision, actually. It's something that we've probably done before, but now we managed to articulate it. So we are retail's first choice in shelf-edge automation and communication. So what on earth does that actually mean? Well, retail, we go for physical retail in stores, the physical stores. That's where we actually have our sweet spot. That's the market that we address. First choice means that we want to be the first choice for any retailer within this space, for any interaction they have with us, from meeting us for the first time, for the first offer they get, for the way we work with them during negotiation, for the way we give support, or the way we actually handle an invoice where they feel that it might not have been the right one. But any interaction, we want them to feel that Pricer is by far number one. Shelf-edge automation, that might not be apparent for someone that is not from the retail space. And even sometimes within retail space there are questions. But generally speaking, everyone within retail will say that anything in the physical store that is not actually a product or the shelf is shelf-edge. If we do put up our electronic labels or a display, that's shelf labels. Automation, we help the retailers work effectively. And communication, we actually help them to communicate with their staff, with their shoppers, with each other, with the brands through communication. So putting all this together will be the first choice in shelf-edge automation and communication. So what does it actually mean in practice? You could say that what we do is that we put the shopper in the middle. You have the physical store, you have the shopper, they come to actually do some shopping, groceries, home electronics, or whatever it might be. And we want to make sure that as a retailer, as a customer of Pricer, you have a system in place where you can guide your customers. You can make sure that the experience in the store gives them what they need. They're looking for milk. How can they find it? How can they make sure that it's actually in place when they come to the shelf? If it's not in place, how can they make sure they get guidance to find something else? Or electronics store, we help them to know more about a specific product. Or what is the online price? So retailer, if you take Best Buy as a good example, they wanted to use labels and displays to help the customer, the shopper, to actually make a decision in the store instead of going and do the shopping online after meeting the Best Buy people. And here they use the labels. We want to inspire them as well. Any retailer know that having a customer in the store is the best way to actually get additional sales. So we want to provide an environment where it's inspiring to shop and where you actually get ideas to do more shopping, to make sure that we help the retailer increase the value of the shopping basket, make them stay in the store and do some more shopping, actually come back as well. We also want to support the staff to make sure that working in the store is easier, that they actually can do their work and spend time instead of doing a lot of extra work, that they can spend it with more value-adding work, interfacing their customers in the store. And what we do with all our solutions is that we facilitate a wide range of activities and functionality and things you can do in the store through the technology that we have. So what do we sell? I realize that some of you might not know Pricer in detail. We do electronic shelf labels, and this is an example. It's actually a very recent one. It's a fairly large label. It's a display, electronically updated. We can update the pricing, the picture, the information. We can make it flash to make sure that we help the store staff find something. If you're a massive store, we can actually direct them with just a small LED light. It actually does sound pretty stupid, but it's turned out to be extremely efficient, and one thing that makes retailer earn a lot of time and earn a lot of money consequently. But we don't only do the fixed labels. We also do different kind of signage. It could be LED strips, like in this case, where we convey the pricing, the product information, but we also use it to do promotions, advertisements, campaigns. So we could, for example, work like with a company like, could be Unilever, Coca-Cola, or whomever, where they would have their messages conveyed on these screens and maybe a top screen on top. But then we also do the regular pricing at the same time. And this is something where we see a huge interest, and this is a market that seems to be exploding right now. So this is in essence what we do, any kind of screen in the physical store. And we're the first choice of the retailers doing this. So Pricer, we've been around for a long time. The company was founded in '91. We were probably a bit too early, maybe 10 years too early defining, but we have defined this market. So when it comes to electronic shelf labels, which is what we're mainly known for, we were one of the first companies to actually build them. And we're one of the few that's actually been around all the time. So you could say that we've been the #1 inventors in this space, building the market that we see today, together with a very limited number of other players. Our labels, we have done more than 280 million labels over these years. Last year, we did a little bit more than 30 million labels that we have actually sold to customers across the globe. We have something like 22,000 stores equipped with our technology in 70 different countries, or more than 17 countries. 200 employees. We have our headquarters in Stockholm, but we have big offices in US, in France, Italy, Belgium, and a few more places. So we're a Swedish company that's been around and is now going global on a larger scale. So whom are our customers? Some of these references might be known to you, some not. Canadian Tire, to date, we've done 12 million labels to this chain only. It's the biggest retailer in Canada. They have up to 150,000 different products in one store, and they have more than 500 stores in Canada. So it's a massive deployment, and we're continuously delivering to them, and we'll continue to do that for the coming couple of years. We have a global contract with Carrefour, exclusive contract. They are one of the biggest retailers in the world. Best Buy is probably one of the most well-known brands for home electronics in the US. We have all their stores in both US and Canada. On the Nordic market, we work with a retail partner called StrongPoint, but not only in the Nordic market, also in UK, in Spain, in the Baltic. And this is, of course, to make sure we strengthen our ability to reach the market with competence and capability. Kingfisher, leading do-it-yourself chain in Europe. We are working with them in France, and they have quite a few different brands and formats under their wings. And finally, I'd like to make a special notion of Plus. It's a Dutch chain. They were originally a little bit less than 300 stores. Now they had a fusion with a Co-op brand in Netherlands. So I think it's close to 600 stores nowadays. And we are the sole supplier of ESLs. They have really used the possibility of the ESL combined with all you can imagine from store digitalization. And I would say they are probably one of the ones that are furthest ahead globally. It's been extremely interesting to join them in their journey to digitize their stores. So why are actually people discussing with us? What are the key trends that define our market? Well, we can see store digitalization. The retailers of today, just like any other business, they want to digitize their stores. They look at the way, how can we work more effectively in the store? How can we get to know more about our customers? They want to know who you are when you enter the store, and they want to see how do you behave, how can they actually help you get the products that you need, and actually help themselves to actually get more money out of the shoppers. They've been doing a lot of marketing through signage, and now you have digital signage where you can see these big screens where you have commercials, could be information, but it's been separate. It's mainly been driven by the marketing people. Then we have the IT people that's been working with the likes of ourselves to build the labels and put labels in the store. And we can now clearly see that these areas converge, and these are two very large markets where the retailer said, well, we want to do the same thing, but only have one vendor. So here we see a clear convergence. Insights into action. Just like when you go to an online store, the owner of the online store will see what products are you looking at, what did you put in the basket, what did you put back, how long time did you spend looking at that product. The physical retailers also want to do this, but they also want to know what is the status of my store. They want to, for example, know, is there a gap? If you have a popular product, if there is a gap, they want to know it immediately. So here, with the help of computer vision, we can actually mount cameras that will actually monitor the shelves, not the people, but the shelves only, and then give an alert when they can see that the popular product, or actually an unpopular product as well, they're out of stock. Send an alarm to the staff saying that please refill as soon as possible. And this is an area where they can actually make a real good contribution if they get it right. So it's a very hot area. It hasn't grown massively yet, but we can see it's really in the initial phase with quite a few really important and influential retailers looking at it and actually starting to deploy. And all the retailers are now moving into cloud and SaaS services. It used to be a PC in the basement is the best solution, but now most of them actually say that just like any other industry, we need it to be SaaS based. So these are the trends, but what are the events that actually trigger them to take action, to actually do the investment? Because a retailer has a billion things to actually invest in. It could be everything from buying new coolers to freezers to ventilation or a point of sales. So why should they actually spend their money on Pricer? One thing that might strike is odd is 4-color ESL. It's a label, but instead of having black or white or 3 colors, black, white, red, they want black, white, red, yellow. And this might sound quite odd. It's just adding another color. The key reason is actually that in many markets like the US, UK, Australia, using red and yellow in combination is what they do to do their promotions. And they do a lot of promotions. And if you go to the US, you will see stickers everywhere. If you go to a grocery store, it's thousands of stickers. And they get some money for every single sticker. They get the money from a consumer packaged good company. Imagine Unilever. So they want to make sure they can get the same money and the same attention from the customer to continue to do campaigns. So they've said that we're ready, but we will not invest until you have the 4-color label, and it's actually available as of now in volumes. So we see a massive interest here. And we actually see this massive interest also turn into business. Another thing that's been really hard for most retailers is the staff availability. It's been hard to get staff. It's hard to make them stay. If you, in many markets, you will see that they have signs saying staff wanted. So this means that they will have to be prepared to get staff quite quickly and lose them. Might be staff that they're not able to train, staff that doesn't fundamentally understand the store. So they would need a system that will help them to give directions and help. And this is exactly what our labels, together with supporting back office systems, will do. It will simply direct the staff to go to the right place, to take the right action without having the actual competence that's needed. So that's been a massive driver. And that's, for example, why we also sell our services in Eastern Europe countries. We've done some sales in Bulgaria now over the last couple of months, Mexico. So areas where we would typically say that, maybe if you look at the cost of the labor, it would be interesting to have an alternative system. But it's also the availability of the labor that has been a key thing. Inflation has been a major driver for doing electronic shelf label over the last year. If there is inflation, you need to increase the price frequently. Typically, you would have a number of price changes every week. In Sweden, very often, this is done on the night between Sunday and Monday. Now with inflation, if you have a really large store, you might have to do 5,000 price increases over the week. And typically you want them to happen between Sunday night and Monday morning. So you need to print the paper, you need to have a big team, and they have to go out and actually locate all these products and change these labels. And if they fail, that actually means that they might have to sell a product at the wrong price, at the lower price, the price that's lower than the cost. So what we've seen is that everyone that has had the contract that they can buy from, and money, they are just buying labels now, and then it's been the inflation driving it. And we have seen really interest across all segments. Doesn't matter if you have a pharmacy, do-it-yourself, grocery, if you sell special equipment, whatever that might be, mattresses, we see that the interest is everywhere, and we see that it's pretty much most countries. We even had deals from very poor countries in the APAC area where they say that there is a need to actually get all this stuff to help out. So how will we address it? Because now we said that there are the trends, we have the events that make it happen. So what are we doing to actually capture it? Well, thought leadership. We believe and feel that we are the thought leaders of the market. We believe that what we deliver and what you should deliver is something that's agnostic from a technical point of view. It should not be about this technology or that technology. The focus has to be the customer and the actual customer need. Here we are making sure that we are building a solution, unlike actually any other in the market, that is truly agnostic when it comes to actually the way we build the labels and the electronic shelf labels in the store. We believe it has to be retail grade. That means that the product that we install in the store have to be durable. It have to be durable in a physical sense. It has to be durable from a battery point of view. So the retailers want to make sure that what they have installed, that it lasts. They don't want to think about, I wonder if I ran out of batteries. I wonder if the price update would actually came through. I want it to flash now to make sure I direct my staff to actually find the right product when they do the online picking. That's retail grade, to be able to tell them, yes, it will work now, it will work in 5 years, it will even work in 10 years. And also here, due to the technology we offer, we are, I would dare to say, the only one that can actually do this and give these kind of commitments. Cloud tech. We have been in a situation where it's been a lot about hardware. It's been a lot about server standing in a store. Just like many other industries, we want to go SaaS. So what we do now is all solution will be cloud enabled. A lot of the functions and functionality will end up in the cloud. Even when we sell hardware, we want it to be configurable just like a Tesla in the cloud and not something you do at one point in time when you sell it. So it should be possible to upgrade, downgrade functionality and look at different kind of parameters. So that's something that we see will be important and that we also have a pretty unique position to do something. To survive, of course, we also need to make sure we have the supply leadership. It's a massive volume. We did more than 30 million labels last year, and we will do even more this year. And that will grow even further. So we need to make sure we manufacture at the best possible cost. We need to have short lead times. But we also need to make sure that we minimize the carbon footprint. Most of the vendors today, they are actually manufacturing out of Asia. We made a strategic decision to start manufacturing out of Germany some time ago and actually will open a site in Bavaria for production. So we'll have the first rounds actually now in March and we will start the volume productions as of April. We're the first mover, we're the first one with a factory in Europe, which means that lead times will be slow. And above all, the carbon footprint of our deliveries will be much less since we can actually do it. We don't have to rely on air shipments as an example. And we see that we're now looking at doing the very same thing for the US market, where we expect a really fast growth. We have set financial targets. We communicated them on our capital market days last year. We will reach 4.5 billion Swedish krona by 2025, and 10% out of those revenues should be recurring. And it's not stated here, but we've also given a commitment saying that this should be profitable growth. We haven't specified exactly the level of profitability, but we have said that we will be profitable during this journey. And this is the growth that we've had so far. I think that you can say that we've gone from an extended early adopter phase of the market. There's been some markets that's been extremely developed and ahead, but on a global level, we can see that the growth is really taking off now. We changed direction last year with a strategic update and a new way of working and a new approach and new financial targets. And we can see that the growth has started. We grow our revenue a little bit less than 30% and our order intake a little bit more than 40% year on year between 21 and 22. And we intend to continue this way to reach our target in 2025. And I hope that I still have you with me. This is my last slide, I guess, before the Q&A session. So how will we make all this happen? Well, on a sales and delivery point of view, we will continue to strengthen our sales and delivery organizations in the market. We'll focus on the key markets. We see that US is one of those markets that will bring a lot of the revenue that we expect in 2025. That market is just about to pop. We are doing pilots with 3 out of 5 top 1 grocery tier ones. We are seeing immense growth in Canada, and a lot of that we expect to be duplicated in the US market. We actually see a lot of interest also in Latin America. We see massive interest in Europe, growth opportunities in UK, Spain, Italy is growing fast. France, which was one of our first market, and I sort of expected to stabilize, has still been growing a lot. I have to admit to my surprise, but I'm actually quite happy, as you can imagine. In APAC, Japan, Australia, and some of the Southeast Asian markets, we also expect to see growth. So all in all, I think it will be quite interesting. To increase agility, we are actually opening up a second R&D site. It will be based out of Taipei in Taiwan. We have started the build-up and expect it to be fully operational during autumn this year. And at the end, we think that what we do within in-store communication, so communication across any screen in the store, is the future, and that the convergence of electronic shelf labels and displays, the digital signage, but also computer vision will really enable the future of shopping. So having said that, I hope that you enjoyed the presentation so far.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I was thinking first a broad question. How do you perceive like the competitive landscape for these kind of products, and what is your main competitive advantage that sets you out?
I would say it's a highly competitive advantage, and it's always been a competitive advantage. Competitors have come and some of them have gone, but there are a few ones that have remained and are quite active. So it's competitive. And if I look what we do compared to competition, and I have to say that, I mean, we are all pretty good, but we have one major difference between us and competition. We have a different technology in our solutions. We use infrared communication to communicate with our labels, and our competitors are using radio. And this, for most non-technical people, this label is a label. It will appear as something that's totally similar. If you buy a car, you expect it to work. The key difference is actually that our technology consumes a lot less energy, and which means that we can use the battery to the fullest. If you want to flash it, you can flash as much as you like. If you want to do a whole lot of display updates, change price, templates, commercials, or information to the store staff, we can do that without having any real limitation. Doing 4 colors, which is really power hungry, we're actually the only one that can do it and say we are willing to give the same commitment as before. But of course, every technology would of course come with a disadvantage. We need to have a little bit more infrastructure, but that's also bringing all this benefit that on a total scale will give the lowest total cost of ownership.
Yeah. So how would you perceive the market currently? If you look at, for example, Europe, how much of the retail market is currently digitalized, so to speak? And do you believe that when you grow, will you take market share of the non-digital or make them digital, or do you take market shares from the part of retail which is already digital?
I think this is my favorite part, because when we look at the addressable market, it's been still comparably small. So it's been hard to actually get real good analyst data, but it starts to be better. Of course, we look at our data, we make our estimates, we look at what competition communicates, and it seems like we now have a consensus that the market is growing really fast. We believe that the penetration rate now is probably moved from 5 to somewhere closer to 7%, and we can see it's now accelerating. So it's actually reasonable to believe that within the coming 5 years that the market size will go from penetration from maybe 5-7% up to between 20 and 30%, which means that the key deals will be brand new customers that haven't used labels so far. And when it comes to the existing ones, they seem to be fairly loyal. Of course, they also churn, but I think if I have to decide, go to someone that has it or go for a new market, the new market is open and addressable, so I would go there. And the installed base today is probably somewhere around 700 to 800 million labels globally from all vendors. And it's quite likely that the addressable market is probably somewhere around 10 billion labels. So we'll probably go for the new customers.
And I thought it was very interesting what you mentioned here, that of course inflation and the more frequent maybe price adjustments of course is a main driver for the market. Could you just elaborate a bit on dynamic here? Is it cost efficient compared to having manually then adjust the prices in the stores, or what is the driver? Is it that you can do it more frequently, just centralized, or what? Can you elaborate on this?
Absolutely. So from an efficiency point of view, it's of course, instead of you have to do a number of price changes, those will take time because you need to do the printing, and then you need to have a team, and they should go out and actually do the work, and very often it's nighttime. Then you have the possibility to direct them. You want to collect an online order, and you have new staff, and they go and then do it yourself store, and then they want to collect screw, and there's this massive wall of screws. If they have to locate the right package, it might take them maybe half a minute. So we are reducing that time from half a minute down to maybe a couple of seconds, because by the time they come to the right place, it will automatically start flashing, so they can just pick it. So we did a study of this together with Forrester, where they interviewed independently with ourselves 3 of our customers to say, what is the saving that you've actually made using Pricer? And they came to the conclusion that the return on investment time is 18 months for the investment they do.
That's very interesting. And then the next question is on product development. You mentioned some features that you want to add, or how do you want to develop the technology? Could you just give us some flavor here on the future? What do you expect in terms of development? Is it price reductions, or is it additional functionality? What do you see?
I think it's one thing that I think we will see more of will be the how we help the retailers actually portray their brand. So that's been the standard form factor, and I guess we were part of actually setting that form factor. So that will remain a standard. But we are also looking at how can we actually help them do labels in a different way? How can we help them communicate in a different way? How can we, with the technology that we have, if we lift all the software up in the cloud, how can we make sure that we just activate the functionality they need when they need it? So imagine that we sell them a 4-color display, but they pay for a basic model, black and white, because that might be what they need most of the time. And then they say, listen, we want to do a campaign here with one of our brands, and we want to do it for 1 week. Then we activate it, and we say, this will cost you $1,000 for activation during a week. They will take that, and they can actually give it to the brand. So from their point of view, it will be more efficient way of working with the costing, but they will also give them the visibility and possibility to get more sales that way. So I think being able to activate functionality based on the needs, and maybe do some of it recurring as well, is what I see as the future.
All right, thank you. And then I was thinking, if we look at the gross margin that you reported, is this mainly a function of product mix, or are there like inflationary pressures on input costs, or so to speak? What is the dynamic that was affecting the gross margin now in the last quarter?
We can see that it's still affected by in the aftermath of the pandemic, and of course all the issues after or during now the tragic war in Ukraine. So we see that the costs are still increased. We can see that they have started to decrease, but it's quite slow, since what we produced is on the old cost baseline, and we see now that gradually it will become better. But then it's also a product mix. We've been having good discussions with our customer on actually taking this cost increase and share it. Quite a few of them have said yes, let's do it. Some have said no, and some have said, well, we can do it, but we rather wait then with the deployment. So it's been a mix, really.
Thank you. And then finally, I was thinking, could you describe when you are addressing new customers, what is the optimal customer? What does typically a chain of store look like? What are the characteristics of a customer that you want to address that could really benefit from your products?
Yeah. I think that typically, I mean, the first customer that we started to work with was grocery stores. It was actually ICA was one of the first chains where it started to deploy it at a little bit larger scale. It was here in Sweden. So I would say it's a large store, typically high density. They might have from maybe 5,000 up to 50,000 or more products. They have a need to actually do quite frequent price changes, or want to work actively with pricing. They probably suffer from lack of staff, and they feel that they want a smart system to be able to direct them, or if they have staff, to say that they can actually work with more value-adding tasks. So I think that would be typical. But we see that really spread now across not only grocery, but quite a few different areas.
Thank you so much, Magnus, for coming here, and thanks for a great presentation.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.